Welcome to Talk with Kristen with an E, the podcast that's like therapy, but cheaper and way more fun. I'm Kristen, host, storyteller, and occasional overthinker. From making friends to surviving burnout, reminiscing on our younger days, and learning how to adult, we'll chat about all life's lessons and laugh in between. So grab your drink, get comfy, and let's talk it out. It's Kristen with an E here, your favorite host of Talk with Kristen with an E. And today we have one of my oldest friends, not because she's old, but because she's one that I've known the longest, Alexis. Hi, Alexis.
Hello. It's nice to be here.
It's so good to have you here. So for anyone who hasn't met Alexis yet, Alexis, can you tell us just a quick thing about you?
Yeah, I am married to my husband. I think it'll be 17 years. See, when you get older, you start forgetting how many years it is. But we have 5 kids that I homeschool. I stay at home with them, but I also work from home. I work from home in a customer service position, and they just keep me busy with all the homeschooling and work and things like that. I love to read and take photos, so I have a lot of hobbies and take care of my kids, really.
I love it. And like everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, this is why Alexis is going to show up on so many episodes, because my corporate burnout series and working mom stuff, like it hits all the areas. But today, the thing we're covering is we're talking about friendships, how to make friends as an adult, how to be a good friend, and things like that, because I feel like it's harder the older you get. Before we started recording, Alexis and I were just reminiscing about how we met. So I thought that would be a fun story so you guys can get an idea of the little background of our friendship. Alexis, do you want to start the story?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it might be kind of fun to just like maybe tell my perspective of it, and then you can tell your perspective, because I think you probably have a really funny perspective, mine versus yours. So we can just start out with the fact that I grew up in Idaho and had never been to the South. I actually have never flown on an airplane. My parents put me on the airplane and sent me to college. They didn't even go with me. They just put me on an airplane. You wouldn't do that now. We would never do that now, but things were different then. And I didn't have a cell phone. I mean, at the time, we were using calling cards. So, yeah, I'm old. We'll just put it that way.
So this was 2004. Just to put it in perspective, it was 2004, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was like 21 years ago.
And so much has changed, just technology and even what parents would do with their kids. So I jumped on an airplane at 18, first time. I had to figure out how to I had a layover in Denver.
Oh my gosh.
Then I had to figure out how to get to a different gate and then get into Tampa. And keep in mind, like, I grew up, Idaho is one of the lowest population states. So it was very rural. And I grew up, and then I go into Tampa, and culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
I've left my family. It's a complete culture shock. I had to find my way there. So I think I walk in to my dorm room after trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. I'd only ever seen pictures of college online of what it was. Like, I didn't do a college tour.
So you hadn't visited the campus. This was your first time there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I decided I was going 4 weeks before classes started. So this was a pretty last minute decision. I had been going to a different college, and then I changed, and it was just thrown together. And I walk in and I immediately start crying. I hadn't eaten all day because I didn't have time, and it was just the whole thing. But then I remember meeting you, Kristen, and I have to laugh because I was like, you were the first person that talked to me, and you were so sweet and kind. And I was like, are people really this nice? Because that had not been my experience in high school. And you were just the sweetest person. But then I have to laugh. You're going to laugh at this, because I remember you sitting there in shorts and a tank top, and probably your stomach was showing, which for us, that's like whatever. But going to a Christian college, that's like, whoa.
I was so much skinnier then, so there wasn't that much stomach. Let's be clear.
but you had your belly button pierced, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And like, you would never even think about this, but I'm like,
Scandalous.
well, yeah, this would have been scandalous for growing up because, and I'm like, okay, no, I can do this kind of stuff, like even at a Christian college, like a conservative Christian college. So it was just funny, but you were like one of my first friends, and you took me under your wing, and just it was a culture shock, but I felt like I had somebody on my side. It was funny as far as that, but yeah, culture shock and a good friend that I've had now for years.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So that's basically how I remember the story too. Clearly, I didn't know the plane stuff. That would like having you retell that story, I felt so much anxiety. I still get traveling anxiety. Like I don't like flights with layovers, and if I do, like I want a long layover because I'm always worried there's delays. I remember the same thing. I think, yeah, I probably was in my room and I don't remember. I thought they usually had freshmen show up. So I don't know if I was there early because I was on the drama team and I may have had to come
You
back to
were
school
drama team,
early.
that's why.
Yeah, so I had to
Yeah.
come back early because we had to get ready for that. And then, yeah, you came in, this scared little girl is what I remember, like just crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just felt like I had to take care of you because you were so like just fragile, like this little girl from Idaho. I didn't know anybody from Idaho. And I don't remember, did you have your period or something too? Because I feel like there was some other piece of drama. You or
Oh my
somebody else.
word.
Like,
Yes, that first week at orientation, and I can't remember her name. She was in drama too. Her name maybe was it Kat. I don't even know who, but she had curly hair. I remember, and she was the sweetest. She came and got my skirt, and oh, it was so mortifying. I just like now I don't even care because at
hey,
this point in my life, that's. But
it
at
is
the
what it is.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, and oh, it was so embarrassing. I've never had that happen. And of course, it happens like the first week of freshman orientation. So,
Yeah,
yep.
I don't know why. That's the memory that stuck out with me too. I'm like, this poor girl, she is just having a time of it. But I will tell you then my favorite memory of you though. So it was when college boyfriend and I broke up. I think it was probably March, so it would have been then spring semester. And I don't remember exactly, like I remember when that happened, but I don't remember exactly why we were. But you and I were both in my room, like on my roommate's bed, because she had the lower bunk and we ordered pizza and we're watching movies on
Mhm.
the laptop, which again, we weren't
Which
supposed to
we
be
weren't
doing.
supposed to be doing.
Not the pizza part, but the movie part. But I just remember like none of my other friends cared about me. Like everybody else is off doing whatever. Nobody wants to be sad. Woe is me. And there's Alexis just watching movies with me and eating pizza. And that meant so much to me. Like that's the memory about Alexis that has stuck with me the most over these years. So thank you.
Yep. Yeah, it is funny because even after like we both left college, you're the only one that I still talk to. So
Hmm.
I find it funny, even though we didn't spend a ton of time together during that year, it was just in and out in different rooms, but we still talk. And you're probably like one of the people that I talk to the most now.
Yeah.
So
So same here.
um,
Like I'm still connected with some of our college friends on Instagram or Facebook, but not like friendship wise. Same with you. And I think part of it is because we were both there for such a small amount of time. So I only went there my junior and senior year. You were only there your freshman year. And I think a lot of it is people are connected more because they'd been there all 4 years or they'd spent more time together. And I think when you're just like almost transitioning through there, it doesn't form the bonds. But because you and I were both transitioning through, I think that kind of helped establish and maintain the connection too.
I would agree. Yeah, it did make a big difference. It's funny how that works.
But see, and maybe that's part of what we cover today too is the difference about making friends when you're younger and when you're older too. Because, when you're really small, you're friends with whoever lives near you in the neighborhood. Or when you're in school, it's the kids in your class. And when you're in college, it's the girls you live with or the people in your classes there. And then all of a sudden you get to the real world and like, yeah, maybe you can be friends with your people at a job. But I still think there's differences between work friends and personal life friends. That's probably another topic to cover another time. But what ways have you found to make friends as you've gotten, or what ways have you tried to make friends as an adult?
Oh, this one is tough. And I say this because I'm considered a millennial, but I don't know that I would say I'm a millennial. But either
Mm-hmm.
way, my husband and I got married pretty young and we immediately had kids. Like that's what we wanted to do. My friends did not do that. They got married later and then had kids later. So my even friends that I had after college or college friends were just on a different trajectory than my husband and I were.
Mm-hmm.
And so making friends that way was hard. I also lived after college, I lived in Michigan for 15 years and I lived really rural there. So everything was like 30 minutes away, 45 minutes away. And so it was really hard as far as that. So I would say that when I had kids early on, I struggled with friendships. People always talk about having, your close friend, but I didn't. Like my grandmas were my friends and
Mm-hmm.
my sister, I spent more time on the phone talking to them and seeking advice from them. We did have a local church, but it was a ways away. And honestly, when I was in the throes of just babies, like I had three and under for a while, and then we added twins. And so I was just in the throes of surviving with babies. And so they were rough, and I didn't have the friendships that I would say that I even have now. I have more, but they're not super in depth. When we moved in 2020 back to my hometown in Idaho. And the best thing that I think I did was, and this is not something that, everybody can have, but utilizing social media and joining our local homeschool group. And so through that, I have a lot of local friends that way. And then I have a couple close ladies in our church, but to be honest, they're not my age. Some of them are not my age. Some of them are older and some of them are younger, which I think is actually really beneficial because you get multi perspectives on life and things like that, but I still don't have like that core group of people that I would go do stuff all the time. When I was in Michigan towards the end, I had some really good sewing friends that we did like one weekend away. We did that twice actually, and that was really good. But then when I moved, I lost that. So it's hard when you start having kids and you're married to really maintain some of those really core friendships because life,
Mm-hmm.
it's just life, and you just kind of catch up when you can.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned the core group of friends because I feel like society, media, whatever, kind of portrays this image of what you're supposed to have. So The Golden Girls has 4 women who are friends. Sex in the City has 4 women that are friends. There's probably other examples. So I think for a lot of my life, I thought I'm supposed to be a part of this group of four women. Like where are the other 3 women to my life? Like where's my group? And it's been hard because I feel like I've tried to force some friendships or I've tried to make things work or I've tried to fit myself into a place that maybe I didn't really fit and to try to get that because that's what I think I'm supposed to have. And then with social media, you see the same group of people. Oh, they're going on vacations together. Oh, they're celebrating birthdays together. Oh, they're doing this. And I struggle with looking at it and I'm like, why doesn't anybody want to invite me on vacation? Why doesn't anybody have me go to all those parties? And I mean, I'm invited to things. I don't make it seem like I'm not, but I've got different circles of friends and different groups of people that I hang out with. And I like it that way. But there's still times where I'm like, but where is my group? Like, who are the people I can call at 3 in the morning and the people that I can go partying with and the people that I can have? Like, I thought there was just supposed to be this group that you just automatically got. And that's not how it's been. I've made it work a little way. When we were living in Virginia, I had joined a meetup. What meetup at the time? This was like 2007, 2008, I think. Had different groups you could join for different activities. And I found a really good group of girls and I was friends with them there. And then we moved to Florida and then, it took a while to fit in there. But then after I had my son, I joined a mom's group and then I had mom friends. But kind of the only thing we had in common was we all had kids born around the same time. So it was hard to find connections there. Then I moved to Missouri and it felt like everybody here already knew everybody. So how do I break into here? You just start to feel like, what's wrong with me? Doesn't anybody want to be my friend? And then you start to think of all the things that are wrong with you in your head about, well, it's because of this. They don't want to be my friend because of this, because of this, because of this. And then it just becomes really kind of like alienating.
I would agree with that. I think it can be so difficult. And I think one thing it's taught me is that comparison is a thief of
Mm-hmm.
joy in that. And when you compare it, I think that those things are actually more rare than what the average person feels in this regard. I think it's because that's what's shown, but the reality is most people don't have that. They might have one or two,
Mm-hmm.
But even that, I don't necessarily think that they have what is shown. I think it's just portrayed and it's not necessarily what's really the case. And I don't know, that's just one thing I've felt. And in some regards, it's made having my husband as more of a friend
Mm-hmm.
be more, but sometimes like you just want a girlfriend. Let's just be
Yes.
real. Sometimes you just want a girlfriend. And while your husband is wonderful for so many things, they can't always relate to like girls are
Yes.
emotional sometimes, and sometimes you just need to deal with that emotion, and men just don't love that. Let's
Right.
just be real.
Yeah, my husband wants to fix everything. Like, I want to complain about a situation, whether it's at work or my personal life, and he just wants to fix it for me. I'm like, I don't want you to fix it. I want you to be like, oh, you poor baby. You're right. That is terrible. Let's tear everything apart and break it all down and overthink it. That's what I want. But I'm not going to get that from my husband. I'm going to get that from a girlfriend who's going to be like, yeah, let's tear this apart. Let's break into it. Let's figure it out. Let's analyze it. Like, I don't know. Like, let's just be sad. But you
Correct.
don't get
Yeah.
that from most men.
That's
Right.
why you have girlfriends.
Yes, but I think you're right too about it being kind of magnified on social media, and I do think it's terrible. And it's like it's one of those things where even in my head, I tell me because like I'll joke and be like, "Oh, Facebook, you mean the fake book?" Like in my head, I know this is what people are putting out. This is what how they want to portray themselves. This is how they want to show their lives. But still, there's a part of me be like, but yeah, but they are. They're all hanging out, and it's not me. And so, but that's something that I'm working through on my own. And I think part of it is I need to stop looking at it. And I'll be friends with some people on Facebook, but I'll hide their stuff so I don't actually see it. And it's not because I don't care about their lives, it's for more the boundaries that I need to have to protect my mental well being so I don't feel those insecurities and jealousies and the stuff that I am struggling with to try to not have.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just me or maybe this is something that many women feel, but if I'm honest, I get very anxious coming into a new situation with new people that
Mm-hmm.
know each other or not. I really struggle with it. And if I'm honest, in general, like activities wear me out. And now I know after having some diagnosis this year, which sounds crazy, like I promise I'm not crazy, but I really do have an auditory processing disorder. So situations like that are really, they're mentally exhausting, which exasperates trying to become somebody's friend or make friends because
Mm-hmm.
I already have something going on. Like my brain isn't processing speech correctly. It's processing all the outside sounds. So it's exhausting. For me, sometimes like even trying to find activities to go make friends can just be like, it's terrifying. I sound ridiculous. I probably should go to counseling for this, but
That's why you're
it really
here
can
because
be
it's cheaper than
terrifying.
therapy. That's why you're talking with me, Alexis.
It's true. I don't know. These are just things that I do. And then I'm like, well, I want to go to that. But then it comes time to it. And it's like, nope, I'm not going.
Yes, but you have to because I feel like I don't know if it's because I see it more the social anxiety. And for the longest time, I'm like, I don't have social anxiety. I'm an extrovert. I love social situations. And I don't know if it's an age thing or if my personality is changing some, but I feel anxious in situations like that. Like you said, even the lead up, like I'll get invited to something. I'm like, yes, that sounds great. I totally want to do it. Then it comes like the day of. I'm like, why did I agree to this? This is terrible. Nobody's going to like me. Why am I doing this? All in my head. And then I have to push through it. And then I go, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the best time ever. I made so many new friends. This is so wonderful. I can't wait to do it again. And then the cycle repeats itself. Then I get invited to the next thing. I'm like, yes, totally going. Then I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? So I could hate me. And it's exhausting. But you have to put yourself out there because I think what is it? The reward is greater than the risk or whatever. It does work, but it is hard to put yourself out there.
It's true. And that part is true. I am glad that I've continued to do things with our local homeschool community, especially the moms when they do mom stuff, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have that support. And I know there's several ladies that if I needed something, I could just call them in a
Hmm.
moment's notice and they would be there to help. And so it does pay off, but man, it is rough getting there. I'm not even gonna lie. And sometimes I think back at things that I do and I'm like, did I really say that? that's so embarrassing. What was I
Yes.
thinking? But I want to be myself. And I'm like, what are they probably are going to hate me for my opinions. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like a whole nother subject, and that people need to have more tolerance for other people's opinions and just recognize, hey, they're different and that's who they are. But maybe, and that's one thing about being a good friend is just recognizing that everybody has different opinions and you can still be friends with people that maybe are on the complete opposite polar of the way you think, but still be friends with them. And I think that's something that is missing in this day and age. So I don't know, just random thoughts that I had.
No, 100% agree with that. I think it's almost more important to make friends with people who have opinions other than yours because you can get into deeper conversations. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I read years ago and it was something about how, like small minded people talk about people, like deeper people talk about things or ideas. Like I said, I totally messed up that quote, but it stuck with me because like how many times have you been with your girlfriends and you're just talking about other people, gossiping or celebrity gossip or whatever, and like that's what you bond over. Maybe it's just me, but I'm sure there are others out there like that.
No,
And
you're
then
not alone.
and when you do get into deeper friendships, then you're talking more about your struggles and being more open and that vulnerability like you said. And then there's another level where you've got friends that you can debate ideas with. And, people hear debate and they
Mm-hmm.
think politics, but it's so much more about that. Like, what do you think about the world? What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on that? Like, I'm going to have a whole episode about why I believe time travel should be a real thing and space time continuum and all these crazy ideas that I wonder about. So, like, but getting people like that you can get in those discussions with, I think those are the friendships we look for. But I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's like we can make shallow friends. I can talk to one of my kids' friends' moms. I can talk to a lady in a store. I can talk to whoever and make those shallow friendships, but it's getting to the deeper ones. And I think that's where we want to get to. But that'll probably be a topic for another episode. We can probably dive into that deep dive of how do you get past the shallow friendships.
Yeah, I think I too, as a person, I crave more of that than just shallow friendships. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have those, but my favorite people are the people, to be honest, that are on the opposite political spectrum than I am. Maybe even like a lot of other things, maybe even raising kids, because I can actually talk to them and they don't, it's few and far between, but I can have a discussion with them and they like me for who I am and I like them for who they are rather than because they agree with me or we can talk about shallow things. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I can appreciate in a friendship and try to look for. It doesn't always happen, but that's kind of something I always try to look for.
Yeah, but that's hard. Like, it's hard to just meet someone and be like, "Hi, I'm Kristen. Can we talk about your thoughts on time travel?" Like, you can't just jump to the big things that you want to talk about. You've gotta, I think you have to start with that shallow friendship. And I don't mean shallow in a negative way. I just mean like surface level, the niceties and the how are
Right.
you doing and what's going on kind of thing before you can dive into the let me show you my crazy if you show me your crazy. Because I know everybody's got some level of crazy in them. But it's like you said, it's hard to be vulnerable with people. And how often after social times am I then laying in bed and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said it. Just like you said, like, I can't believe I said that. What are they thinking about me? And people probably don't give a second thought about what I said after I leave that room. But because I focus on me, I'm like, clearly they're all talking about me now. They'll hate me. But
Right. And you feel like this need to text them the next day. I'm sorry if I offended you with that.
yes.
I wasn't.
Yeah, please don't
I
think I'm
can't
an
be the only
idiot.
one that does that
Right? I promise I'm a
or
fun
wants to do
person.
that.
Yes. All right, Alexis. Well, I think this has been a fantastic episode. I love that we got to reminisce about our beginnings and talk about some of the struggles we have. And I think that we will definitely be continuing this friendship series on as we try to figure out how to find and be friends as adults. So, any closing thoughts?
I would say normalize not having a huge group of friends that you go on vacation with and stuff all the time. It's okay to just have one or two really close friends. And if you don't see them every week or even once a month, it's okay too.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great tagline too. Like, normalize not having that, right? Like, it's okay, and it's probably more normal to not have that. And so that's great advice. Thanks for this therapy session, Alexis.
You're very welcome.
All right, until next time. Talk to you later. Thanks for spending time with me on Talk with Kristen with an E, where it's always cheaper than therapy. If you enjoyed today's chat, don't forget to subscribe. And hey, let's keep these conversations going. You can find me on Instagram at Talk with Kristen with an E. Let me know what's on your mind. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, life is always better when we talk it out.